What's going on, people, man? It's your man JB with you once again in the Mind Your Business podcast. Appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with us. And as always, we like to have great minds, great people, just great individuals to come on the show. Tonight's no different. We got my man Rashod Harris. He's going to come on and just kind of talk about what it is that he does. He's going to talk about his journey with entrepreneurship and all things dealing with being your own boss. And so, once again, you guys, I appreciate you. Remember, it's a Mind Your Business podcast. We do this every Monday. And then make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure you ring that bell, man, for those notifications as well. And remember, it's powered by Hanging with the Harrisons. But up next, we got my man Shad, and we're going to have a conversation. What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Life is good, man.
Life is good. And that's, you can't beat that, man. If life is good, it is what it is, man. You know, no complaints at all.
The poet that says that minus the bullshit, life is good.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's probably, listen, man. That's what everybody. You know that's anybody can relate to that. I know I can for sure. Well, look, man. I wanted to get you on the show. And I'll be honest with you. I've seen some of your stuff, but I've heard a lot about you, and it's all been good stuff.
Okay.
And so, my thing is, if I'm hearing good things consistently about someone, let's have a conversation. So we reached out, hit you on Instagram, and say, hey man, let's make it work. So we got you on here. Let's talk about what it is that you do. I've had an opportunity to visit your YouTube page. I've seen some of your content. But for those that may not be familiar with you and what you do, man, just kind of run it down for them.
Yeah, so pretty much I'm a marketing strategist. So I help small businesses and personal brands um, gain exposure using social media and turn that exposure into profit. So I've been doing it for the last 5 years. Started out as marketing, transitioned into doing more so content based, and now the process of kind of like bringing it all together. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell. So.
And so, how did you get to the place of entrepreneurship? Have you always been an entrepreneur? Did you prior to that you did some corporate stuff, or how did you get to the journey of entrepreneurship?
So long story short, internally I've always felt like I was an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. My dad, he actually still is an entrepreneur. He's like the epitome of a hustler. Like he has like two car washes. Like I've had like aunts who were like entrepreneurs. So ever since I was a kid, like I kind of grew up like idolizing these people who really could do whatever they want whenever they want. So went to school. Shout out to Norfolk State University, the whole green and gold. Um, so went there, ended up dropping out. Realized that I wanted to kind of work for myself. I realized that going to school wasn't really helping me with it. So started working in the call center when I was like 22, like 22. Um, Thought I was going to be there for a little bit of time. Ended up being there for 8 years. But during that time, I realized that I hated having other people in control of what I can actually do. Even in regards to helping out their business, like there's people telling me what to do that never did my job, and that bothered me. Like that bothered me a lot. And there was a moment when I was at a job that was like a turning point. Um, so I was working there probably at this time maybe like 5, maybe 6 years, and the job had hired like 20 something new people who had quit their job, the job they had before, and came to work there with us. Within maybe about 3 weeks, the job said, you know what, we're gonna fire all these people.
Mm.
And so everybody that they just brought on got let go. I wasn't one of those people, but at the same time, I realized that like if if this job can really just let go people that they promised employment to a a couple of weeks ago, they could definitely do that to me. And I wasn't the greatest employee either. So, like, I used to call out all the time. Like, I did my work, but I hated doing it. So I was like, if they could do that to them, then they could definitely do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on, like, started to kind of like go harder with what I was doing. Um, Started to really create more content for myself as well as my clients. And then in 2016, June of 2016, I finally was like, you know what, I'm out. Like, I don't really need this anymore. It's like now or never. I had just turned 30. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, all right, it's time to really go after what I say I want to do with the rest of my life. But I'm not getting any younger. And at the time, like, I didn't have kids or anything like that. It was me and my wife. So it was like a now or never time in my life. So I had to go for it. And that kind of brings me to, where I'm at today.
So with that, and and I say this a lot with people that I've had on the show, and the purpose of the show is to have conversations with entrepreneurs, creators, creatives, and business owners and influencers, just to have the conversation because everybody sits back and watches these people. They watch them. They watch them and they like, well, man, I want to start my own business. I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay, fine. But they don't know what it takes. You know what I mean? They don't know the backstories. They don't know. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like they have no clue what has happened, prior to this to get to where you are today. For you, going through that process of working a job and just kind of realizing, you know what, this ain't it. And at the time you're married, how was how was that conversation even with your wife? Or because even with that, a lot of times relationships start off one way, and there's an expectation. You know what I mean? And a lot
Yeah.
of times it ain't a thing to where the man comes home like, babe, I ain't going back to work today. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those relationships don't last.
Right,
And
right.
so, what was that conversation like, and how did that work out?
So my situation was a little bit different. So while me and my wife were dating and all that stuff, she had seen me grinding, grinding during the times when I'm not at work. And she saw that how miserable I was going into it
Mm.
for years. Um, I tell everybody, like, I actually had got to the point where I was getting anxiety. Like, I'll pull up to the parking lot, sit there for 10, 15 minutes, and then call out from the parking lot. Like, it's the craziest thing ever. Um, so she saw me kind of go through this, not being happy and feeling depressed. And so all right, so this is actually what happened in my story quick, right? Before I quit, I was actually going to try to find another job doing the same thing. I was like, you know what? I'm just trying to make as much money as I can, and then sooner or later I'll quit. So I got another job. Um, the job said, hey, you can come here. It's cool. Like, you'll be making more money. You got a better schedule, all that good stuff. Like that, I'm out. They said, all right, well, we need you to come and take a piss test. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll do that. I couldn't get off on the time that they wanted me to come take a piss test.
Mm.
So since I couldn't come at that particular time, they sent me an email a day later. And keep in mind, I already put in my 2 weeks notice.
Mm.
So they sent me an email saying, since you aren't able to come and take your piss test, we're rescinding your offer.
Right. Yeah.
So I felt like the biggest failure ever
Mm.
because I was like, all right, I already told these people I was quitting.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm gonna look like saying hey, just kidding, I'm back. I ain't going nowhere. And so I was feeling like a failure. I was just for a day I was just kind of moping around. And then my wife just said, all right, so instead of going back and saying that you're gonna stay, why don't you just quit and just start to work for yourself? She's like, hey, look at your 401k, see how much money you got in there, and see if you got enough to make it work. So I looked at my 401k, I had like $14,000. I'm like, I can make that work for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, go ahead and do it. I'm like, that I'm gonna definitely do it. And then it was on and popping after that. There was definitely some struggles when I first, started working for myself, but that's a
Right.
complete different concept.
And that and the crazy part about that is the fact that the support system was there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it could have went a whole different way.
Yeah.
You know, wife could have been like, "Yo, bruh, you better suck it up. Take you some headache medicine or whatever you got to do, and go ahead and go to work."
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I say that a lot because the journey of entrepreneurship, outside of mentors and just a lot of the other things, it takes, not just the village piece, but it takes a really, really serious support system starting from home. And for you to be able to have that in place, had to make it at least, I'm not going to say it made it 100% easier, but one, it made it easier to make the decision, because think about it. Man come home, he talking about, I'm about to quit. The, One of the first things he's thinking about it, what is my wife or my girlfriend going to say? You know what I mean?
The role of men is just to protect and
Oh,
provide.
listen. Yes, indeed. And so to be able to come home and eventually, you know, maybe get brave enough to have that conversation. And but then to see the reaction of your spouse, of your partner, and a lot of times that may even, you know, hearing the reaction that you get from your partner could work two ways. Either it's going to motivate you to really go and start your business, your entrepreneurship journey, or it's going to push you back. You know what? I better go find me another 9 to 5.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I've never met her, man, but shout outs to her, man, because that's serious right there.
Yeah, my wife
Uh,
is great, man. So
and
like, she always held me down, and she was making more money than me at the time. So she definitely like held down like some bills when I couldn't.
mhm,
Like yeah, she always kind of stepped in and was like that safety blanket that I needed.
yeah, yeah, and that's what's up, man. So let's talk about so you have, it's called, what is it, Rebel? It's
The double society.
the Rebel Society. What exactly is the Rebel Society?
So the Rebel Society is my marketing agency. Where, like I said, once again, that's where I produce content for small businesses. And not only produce content, but also run social media pages, run digital ads, email list building, so on and so forth. So that's the house that everything I do kind of falls
And
under.
so,
And the name, actually,
go ahead.
yeah, the name actually came from probably about 2010. I had a blog site because I always believe in you got to build your own pipeline. And so I was like, what? Since I was out working with music artists back then, I was like, what? If I can give them a platform where they can kind of put their music, then it makes it easier for me to be able to sell my services to them.
Mm.
So I had a blog site called the Rebel Society. It looked great. Like it was one of the best sites I've ever had. And looked at my thought process behind the name was like, I feel like I believe everybody has to step outside the box which they come from. Some people call that outcast, but I call that being rebel.
Mm.
So the only way we can actually grow as a community is that you have to have a lot of like-minded people coming together. So that's where like the Rebel Society came from.
Mm.
Really just building up a society of like-minded people who aren't scared to like shatter the box, you know, eliminate the status quo and just kind of like go for what they want.
And how's that process been? I mean, is it a one man show? Do you have a team, or how does that work?
So I have a small team now. Probably something I've actually built up over the last year with. So it's mostly a one-man show.
Mm.
But now I have a assistant. Shout out to Christine. I have an editor. And I have somebody. Actually, I have two creators under me.
Mm.
So I have somebody working on my personal brand, which we actually starting at this week, and then I have somebody who helps me with the bigger production.
And then at what point did you know what, I need to get some more people on board?
Um, I've always known. I've always known. But to be quite honest with you, I got to the point where I realized I couldn't do everything myself.
Right.
And with the clients that I had, I wasn't giving the utmost best that I'm able to do with it just being myself.
Got it.
Because I was running myself ragged. And to be real, I just couldn't make the money that I wanted to make working by myself. Like you can live a good life working by yourself, but for where I kind of envision my agency going and where I see myself personally, I needed to bring some people in.
And I think, just to kind of piggyback, because what happens a lot of times with businesses or entrepreneurs or just in general, when do you know I need, so for an artist, we'll just say, I need a manager. Or for, somebody that shoots video, I need to go get an editor. Like, when do you know? Yeah, I would tell artists all the time, well, look, man, you don't need to go get a manager if ain't nobody calling
Yeah. You ain't got nothing to manage.
you. You know what I'm saying? Like this is stuff you can do on your own.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody checking for you right now. What do you need a manager?
Yeah.
Just to say that you have a manager, but if you're not putting the work in and the response isn't there, then you can do it yourself. In your situation, it was like you said, kind of because you couldn't be in 3 and 4 places at one time. You probably found out that you may have been missing out on some money because of
a lot of money.
right. And I guess with that, it's figuring out, all right, well, I need to get a team. And then for you, how did you even, once you got past the fact that you needed to get a team, how did you know who your teammates should be?
So all right, so I'm very transparent. So a couple years ago, I felt like I was hitting my ceiling, which was about making about $5,000 a month, which isn't bad. That's probably at the time the most money I've made in a while, or ever in life. So I was making $5,000 a month, but I was having to turn away projects. I was having to say hey, I can put you on the waiting list for a couple of months.
Oh,
So I couldn't do that finished project. And then with that, people would be like, well, I was kind of, wanting something now. So
right.
I'm going to find somebody else. So with that, I was like, you know what, I need to kind of, and I was hitting the ceiling creatively too. So like I said, I produce a lot of content for businesses. But I've never ever looked at myself as a creative. I don't even classify myself as a videographer. I picked up a camera because I was doing marketing and I needed to create content for some of my clients. So that's pretty much the only reason I picked up a camera to start.
Okay.
So of course over the years I've gotten pretty good with a camera, but I still never consider myself. So first thing first, I was like, you know what? I want to produce higher quality production. So I ended up linking with my guy Cap. Shout out to my man Cap. He first hit me up yo, I like what you're doing. I like that, link up with you. I'm like, all right, cool. So from that point on, we built some synergy together. He started to come out to different shoots with me, and he was starting to give me tips hey, lighting wise, you should be doing this. He's all right, you need some new equipment. There's some stuff I got already. Go ahead and start using that. So it helped with the production value. So instead of just doing some basic stuff that was in the parking garage or a random field, we was getting venues, we were doing just a lot of high end production, but we still do a lot of work to this day. So that was the first thing. So I saw all all right, I can charge a little bit more because production's like.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I realized, where I was lacking my business. I still needed to edit these projects. And if you know anything about doing video, editing is the thing that takes up the most time.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You got to go through each clip that you shoot, see
Right.
what's the good stuff, see what's bad. So I'm like, you know what? If I can find me an editor, like I know how to do the work already.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can find me an editor that can be like, who can go in and just set up the project for me. They go through, I tell them exactly how it's supposed to be. They go through, pick the selects, line it up with some music, and then they send it to me. That's all I do. But like I said, I can edit. So if they do that part for me, I can go in, put my little special sauce on it, tighten it up, and then we good. We can, put out projects in 3-4 days instead of it being 2 weeks. So now that ramps up the production. Now I can take in more stuff. And then I can, bring in more projects. And then my third thing is getting an assistant or a virtual assistant. And with that, the reason I did that is because with me always shooting and always editing, sometimes the communication with my clients would drop. Like I would bring them in, I would onboard them, but from the time that we do one of our initial sessions to the time that we actually start shooting, it might be 2 or 3 weeks in between. I haven't made contact.
Got it. Right.
Or it might take me, if somebody said, "Hey, I want to work with you," it might take me a couple hours to be able to send them out like the form that they need to be able to, hop in my funnel. Or one of my major issues is that I need testimonials for my client.
Got it. Yeah.
And I was dropping the ball with that. I'll hit them up 6 months later and saying, "Hey, how was that project I did for you?" Instead of hitting them up like a month or two, or even a couple weeks after the project's done.
Yeah.
So like, you know what? If I can bring somebody in that can actually do these tasks for me, that would allow me to build more relationship with my clients that I already have. They'll allow me to be able to access and get the testimonials and stuff like that. But it'll also allow me to make sure that the projects that I'm currently working on I'm able to maximize those to the highest ability. Because now that me and the client are talking more, we can make sure that we have everything we need. Because like I said, a lot of times with us not being able to talk or us not talking, during the whole creation aspect of it, a lot of things are, not said or misinterpreted or, just completely dropped. So now that I don't have to worry about that, we can do these bigger projects and everybody's on the same thing.
And that makes sense. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because like you said, for you, it's increasing your value. It's increasing your value. You're able to kind of take care of clients faster, quicker. Response time is quicker. In comparison to like I said, somebody that's really doesn't need any additional help. They could do what they can do, but may just not want to do it. Don't want to put the work in. And so with yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of times people, that's a step that they want to skip.
I don't know why. I feel like it's a great step that I feel like everybody should do. You got to be able to bring on people. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna say everybody should do, but if you're trying to scale a business, sooner or later you got to bring in people. Like I always know that was gonna be a part of my journey. One day I'm gonna have to bring in people to help me grow this business to where I envision it.
Got it. Yeah. But I guess with some people, man, it depends on how you look at it. So for you, looking at it as it's going to increase your value in your brand. Other folks are looking at it, well, dang, there's somebody else I'm going to have to pay. I'm going to have to pay these folks. This is taking money out of my pocket in comparison to and it's a mindset. I think it's a mindset. It's money that's being taken out of my pocket in comparison to really money that's going to be added to your pocket.
Right. That's the way I look at it. Like,
Hmm.
even though you have to pay these people, with them taking not jobs, with them taking duties that you don't want to do,
Right.
that should give you more time to actually direct towards marketing or
Yes.
lead generation
Hmm.
or just client onboarding that you wouldn't normally have.
Yeah.
So even though I might be, paying out, 1,000 or 2 a month to, for these different individuals to help me out. I mean, all contractors.
Hmm.
So it's not like I have to pay them when those workers come in. When workers coming in, I pay them.
Hmm.
But with that free time that I have, like I said, I can spend time with my family,
Yes. Right.
but I can also put that back into my business and
Hmm.
reinvest that time into my business to be able to grow it.
And at the end of the day, man, there's a lot of things that you can get back, but time ain't one of them.
That is true.
So
So,
you can, and really, man, you think about it. How valuable is time?
yeah,
You know,
it's like the thing we have.
listen. So, it makes sense, man. Um, with your company, um, it's a branding agency, I guess.
Yeah, marketing. Yeah.
Marketing. What is the most difficult thing for you as an owner, as a, I know you hate it, but as a creative, as a content creator, um, what is one of the hardest things for you when it comes to that piece?
Um, to me, the hardest thing probably is balancing.
Mm,
Like it's a lot. It's a lot going on a day to day basis. Even once you include like personal, in it.
right,
Like
right.
it's just a lot to balance that takes different aspects of different functionalities of your brain.
Hmm.
Like I have a wife at home that's a pregnant wife, to be more specific, that she needs, me to be there for.
Right, right,
But then I also have to make sure stuff is running when I'm at the office.
right.
I have to make sure, like, and being when you do creative work, it's a different part of your brain that has to be like tapped in at all times. Like people are looking at you to be creative. Like people come to me with like no idea, no concept, no nothing. Like, hey, I got this clothing brand. I need you to do something with it. I'm like, all right, so what you trying to do? I don't know. That's what you're here for. And then they just look at you like, so it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I got to come up with something.
Hmm.
And so it's like it takes a lot to be able to pull that out. Like, all right, now I got to make up something creatively, but also got to manage these projects. I got to have the calls. I got to manage the emails. I got to, also find new clients. I got to, take people out for lunch when I don't feel like it. It's just a lot of stuff that you got to balance. And I've always said like entrepreneurship is like the loneliest thing ever because nobody ever truly understands exactly all that you have to do.
Right,
They just look
right.
from the outside like, yo, you live in life, you can do whatever you want whenever you want to do it. And I'm like, that's true, but
Hmm.
I'm also supremely stressed out most of the
Right.
time. I'm also tired a lot of the time.
Hmm.
I'm also like in my head a lot of the time.
Right.
And so nobody really sees that. So yeah, to answer your question, the most difficult thing is just kind of like balancing everything that we have to do.
And so, how do you find that balance, or do you, or
I
are you?
haven't found it.
I'm about to say,
Yeah,
are you still
yeah,
looking?
yeah. I'm still working on that. Like I'm still trying to figure it out. Like yeah, I wish I had a good answer for you. Like I
Right.
try to make sure I spend some wonderful time with my wife, but sometimes I drop the ball on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to make sure that my clients are well taken care of. Sometimes I drop the ball.
Mm.
Sometimes people need me to come up with something extremely creative and outside the box. And sometimes I drop the ball with that. So yeah, I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress when it comes to that. I guess.
Well, listen. And I told you this before we started the show. I reached out to you because I kept hearing your name, man. Um, and yeah, so you may drop the ball, and you may have dropped it on occasion and more than one time.
Yeah.
But when I say I kept hearing your name, and it wasn't for bad things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything that I was hearing was good, and I was like, "Well, look, let me reach out. Let me reach out." So I had the Colliers on
Yeah. Very fun.
not too long ago, and
Yeah.
uh, and I was talking. Me and Bridget, we were talking on the podcast, and she was talking about how it's have mentors and people in general, because I asked her how she was growing her channel from, I think at one time it may have been 1,000 to where at this point her Instagram she may have like 12,000
Yeah.
followers. And I was like, well, hey, what is it that you did, or what are you doing, or and next thing I know, she didn't say Rebel Society, she said Rashod Harris.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. And then Javon, he said the same thing. And then I've seen some of your stuff. I think did you do the Tally and Twine?
Yeah. Yeah. I did a couple of projects.
So seen some of your stuff. I said, well, look, let's get them on. Let's have the conversation. And so for you, as all the hats that you wear, and this is probably a work in progress as well as even with the balance piece. How do you know which hat to take off and which one to put on?
Um, to me, it's just trying to figure out what's the most pressing at that particular moment.
Hmm.
Like, if I feel like my wife needs a little bit more attention and care, then I'm there with her. Sometimes I can have projects that's due, but she's like, hey, I want you to sit down here with me and watch a movie with me.
All right.
I guess I gotta do that.
And so then
Or,
the question is, and I know you may be sitting there, your your body is there,
yeah,
but where's your head? Where's that at the time?
a million different things. A million different
Right.
things.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, even though my body is there and I'm
Yeah.
physically at the moment there, my mind is all over the place. My mind is definitely thinking about, hey, I got to do this, I
Yeah.
got to do this.
Yeah.
Um, which it shouldn't be that way. I should be able to like be fully in the moment,
Right.
but
It's
sometimes
hard.
not like
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of entrepreneurs and people I've talked to, that's the biggest thing is being present.
yeah,
For me now, there's a lot of things that I do. I'm married. I've got 5 kids, and there's a lot that I do. I've always been real. I won't say creative, but my mind is always ahead of my body. I'm constantly thinking about something.
correct.
In my sleep, when I'm awake. At this point, we're having a conversation, and I'm still thinking, and I'm sure you are as well. Still thinking about other stuff that either I need to get done, I want to do, or whatever. It just kind of how
Yeah,
that
it's
things.
just who we are. It's how we are wired.
Yeah, man. It's just we just wired that way. But one thing that I've heard a lot from people like us, and not only like us, but then their partners and spouses and things of that nature, is being present, having that ability to be present in the situation and in the moment. I found that even with my wife, that one of the biggest stresses for her is she understands how I am, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't want me to be present when she wants me to be present.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's probably it's difficult. And for me, it's even trying to figure that piece out. All right, how can I just tell my mind to be quiet for the next 30 minutes at least and not think about anything else except for what is happening right now? And listen, I ain't figured that piece out yet. You know what I mean? I haven't,
yeah,
and it's just, trying to, and I do everything that I can just to be present, with my
yeah,
kids,
yeah,
uh, you know, if we're at games or, just in the house, just like you said, wife may want to sit down and watch a movie, but just trying to find that space and that time in my head of being present to the point to where she's not asking me something 4 and 5 times because I'm somewhere else.
yeah.
Um,
It's one of the hardest things, man. Like
yeah,
I feel
man.
like we fully grasp it. Like I have a couple things that I do to kind of make sure that she's taken care of.
Mm,
Like having date night, like fully like disconnected from whatever you have to do. Like set schedule of
Hmm.
Thursday at between
Right.
7 till whenever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
Uh,
definitely helps a lot. But
yeah. Yeah. And it does. And it's, and I'm sure it takes a special person to be in relationship with someone like that. Like, they've got to be a special person because it just takes a lot. It takes a lot of mental space. It takes a lot of emotional space to where you really know that this person really cares and loves you, even though it just seems like they're just not present a lot of times. You
yeah,
know.
and not to cut you off, one thing that I did do, like when I was single,
Mm,
even though I wasn't successful at the time, like I was doing a lot of hobbies, trying to make them into businesses, and it
hmm.
wasn't working out. But what I realized is that when I was actually single, and I was like, you know what? Somebody asked me like, what am I looking for in a wife? The first thing, or not the first thing, but one of the things that came up was like, I need my wife to have her own thing that she wants to do.
Mm,
So that way, this might sound messed up, but it's like that way she gets when it's time for
right.
me to do stuff.
Right. Right.
But she has her own thing. Like my wife is like she has a doctorate, she has businesses, she has a lot of stuff going on.
Mm,
So when I'm actually, here at, almost pushing 10 o'clock, she gets it. She gets that, that there's stuff that we have to do because we're
mm,
passionate about it.
right.
I dated women before who didn't have anything they were passionate
Hmm.
about. So they just thought that, you go to work and then after work is their time. Not fully grasping that there's also time for you to do the things that you're passionate about.
Right.
So having a wife that truly understands that and gets it is probably like the key code.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people mess up.
Yeah. And it's got to make life easier.
Yeah,
Because as you said, because if you get one that doesn't understand that, you're gonna be in for a world of trouble.
you're right. Right.
You're not gonna be able to get no work done. You're gonna be able to make no money. You trying to work, she coming in there fussing and mad. And yeah. So, yeah, you're right. One more thing. So one thing that I've done and we do with the show is we talk about highs and lows. Highs and lows meaning with your journey of entrepreneurship. And that journey can consist of a myriad of things, not just business related, but with your journey, what is your highest high and your lowest low, and you can do that in whichever one you choose.
Okay. Um, let's talk about the highs first. Let's, let's start with the my highest high was actually earlier this year. Actually, my highest high was first quitting my job and getting out
Mm,
there. But outside of that, earlier this year in March and April, I had some of the biggest months, the most money I've ever made. In my life. Like I had a $10,000 month. And for some people, that might not sound, the biggest, but to me, it just kind of reaffirmed that I'm on the right path. It reaffirmed that the things that I think about and the things that motivate me are the right things. And also, it reaffirmed that the thing, it didn't reaffirm, but it pretty much told me that I started a business 7, 8 years ago out of nothing. There was no mentors, there was nobody that taught me what to do. And I've actually grown a business to be able to make $10,000 a month. I don't feel like my parents made that or, anybody. So just being able to say, like, all right, you're on the right path, you're doing great work, and like nobody can take that away. That's to me that like boosted my self esteem, my confidence in my business, my confidence in my work ethic. Like just those 2 months alone just said like, yo, you are killing it. Right? You should be proud of everything that you're doing. So that's definitely the high. As far as the low, um, I don't really look at the negative side of things, but the negative that I would probably have to say is like certain months when I had to go to people for financial, for financial support that didn't really support what I was doing. So I've had moments where like I couldn't pay my mortgage, or I didn't say I couldn't pay. I didn't have all the money. So having to go to like a parent or a friend, like, hey, I need $200 or $300. If you got it, I would definitely appreciate it. Like that hurts my self-esteem, my ego, like everything. It just kind of like completely kills all that because you're going to somebody, and my parents are super supportive, but they still don't really fully grasp all that I do. And so with that, it just gives them kind of ammunition to be like, you know what, you might want to think about getting a job.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't ever ask for anything. I only ask you for like $300. And so with that, it just kind of puts a more of a battery in your back. Like, all right, now I need to go as far as I can and make sure I never feel like
Right.
this.
Yeah.
So,
And the good thing about that is that you were transparent enough to even say that piece. Because listen, man, a lot of entrepreneurs will leave that part out. They'll leave the part out to where you maybe sometimes you may have to go ask somebody for some money.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Short on your mortgage. Your lights might be getting close to getting cut out or whatever the case may be. A lot of these cats won't mention that part. But once again, it's the understanding of, hey, this is what this life can be. And it's not always you're not always at the top. There's at some point you've got to start at the bottom to get there.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people either they don't talk about it, they act like it didn't exist, or some people are so ashamed that it happened. But I mean, it's a part of the process and a part of the journey. And I think ultimately, when people can hear and understand it, then not only do they respect that journey and the business even the more, but they get a true understanding of what it consists of.
yeah.
And it is not a cakewalk. And I think that people think that this is just, oh, I can start me a business today. I got this idea and I know it's going to blow.
Yeah.
Or let me start this YouTube channel. I'm going to get about 1,000 subscribers in the next 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, it never works out.
You know, one more question, man, and I'll let you go. When it comes to creating content, I'm not going to say give me your secret.
No, let's give away the secret stuff.
Hey, listen, because I need help.
That's what it's about, man.
Look, give me the secret, bro, because I need to do it myself.
All right. So what's the question?
When it comes to being consistent and creating content that will ultimately, so if your goal is to increase your followers, your fan base on social media or whatever, what is the key to consistency and then creating the content that will generate that? Besides, because I'm not running out here buying followers. I'm not paying.
Yeah.
For, you know what I'm saying? You're right. So what is the what? So for instance, we talked about Bridget. What was the information that you gave her to grow her space from 500 to she's at 12,000? Well, at least she was at 12,000. She might be at 20 or 30 now.
Yeah, I think you might be a little bit fast. But it's a couple things. First thing is you got to show the people who you are. And that's being as raw and open and vulnerable as possible. The reason I always say that is because there's a lot of people in the world pretending to be somebody else. So you always rock with the person who you feel like you can relate to. And the only way you can do that is if you show something about yourself that people can see themselves in. So, like even with that story I just told, there's gonna be people who are trying to be entrepreneurs right now who feel like their parents don't really support them, and sometimes they might be, low on their pay, or don't have enough money to pay their mortgage, or they rent, or they like or stuff like that. So that's going to bring more people into me and my story. So that's one thing. Just be as real and authentic and transparent as possible. Another thing is be super consistent with whatever you got doing. So for me, the way that I'm consistent, which is a habit now, um, earlier you talked about not being able to shut off your brain. So it allows you to like, I'm the same way, like for me, sometimes I can't sleep because my brain won't turn off. 9 times out of 10, when my brain can't turn off, it's thinking of ideas that I should be implementing. Last night I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep because my mind just wouldn't turn off. So what I started to do, like in the last year, which helps me put out a lot of content, is that in my phone I have a note that says like random thoughts. These random thoughts could be content ideas. These random thoughts are like captions. These random thoughts are carousel subjects for Instagram. These could be like ideas for reels, ideas for my clients. Like whatever the case may be, I get it out of my brain and writing it down in my phone. So that way, when it's time for me to put out some content, instead of me trying to think of like, what should I post for Tuesday that I feel like would be, some good content. I don't ever have to think about that. I really just go on my phone and be like, all right, well, let's see what I'm in the mood for today. And be like, all right, well, I got a real idea. Let me go and do that. I got something I could put for like a carousel and do that. So I can always put out content. Like probably once we get off this, finish this interview, I have 3 to 4 pieces of content that I'm going to kind of put out tonight that I haven't even thought about. I just have it in my phone already. So I can kind of load up for, tomorrow or the next couple of days. And probably my last thing is always give value. So all the social media gurus say give value, and that's probably the most real thing. Like people will come to you if you got good photos and you put out good videos, but that attention is fleeting. They might be on your page for that day or that moment, but what is going to make them keep coming back to you? And what that is you have to keep giving them something that they value. So with me, I always give away, insight into certain things that I go through, which could help, the next person. Or even it just being something like this where it's like giving value to, giving tips on how to actually grow your channel or grow your page or just grow your following. Or it's like trying to figure out how can you make money off your following. And being able to get a gym or the play that can help you do that. Like it's all about just giving value that can help somebody else, be better than they are today.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I said when you said like, give away the secret sauce, I'm about giving all this shit away. Everything I got, I'm gonna give it away.
Yes, sir.
Because that's only gonna help the people who are on the receiving end of this, but it's also gonna help me monetarily, it's gonna help my spirit, and it's gonna just help me, just as a person.
Well, look, man, I appreciate it for sure. I appreciate the secret sauce. I appreciate you, giving up your time, 'cause as we already know, and we mentioned it, like that's that one thing you can't get back. That's probably the most valuable thing that we have in our possession is time. And so, and especially as entrepreneurs, man, like time is really, really valuable and precious, man. So I appreciate you for taking the time out, just hanging out with me, man, having this conversation. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
First, you can follow me pretty much everywhere at Rashod Harris. Really, if you want to go to the platform that you most get to know about me and what I do, it's definitely Instagram. So that's like I said, Rashod Harris. You can also go to my website, which pretty much has everything that I do. It's therebelsociety.com. And also have an a YouTube page that has a lot of great pieces of content that can add value to any situation. So that's just search Rashod Harris and that'll come up.
Yeah, yeah. Because matter of fact, I think after I heard about you, I ran up on the podcast. You had my guy from Innovative Twist on there,
Yeah, Josh.
which was a great. That was a great interview, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Really,
good conversation.
really good, man. And bro, keep doing what you're doing. I think is that a Rebel Society shirt you have on?
It is actually. So every once in a while, I put out little pieces of merch that I just kind of rock with. So this is a piece that we put out last year that people were like ate up. So I might have to put my birthday's like 2 weeks, or actually like 10 days. So I might try to put out another piece pretty soon. But yeah, it's all about the merch sometimes.
Well, listen, man. I'm just gonna throw this out here. Um, I like merchandise. I'm just putting it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
got you. I got you.
you know what I mean? If it's something I rock it. Especially if I know it's from some people that I really respect and honor, and had them on the show as guests or whatever. So, I don't know what kind of sizes you do. If you're doing them European sizes, I may have to
Nah,
pass.
nah, 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 nah.
I ain't one of them type of guys.
Nah, nah,
Um,
I got you. Matter of fact, when we finish with this, shoot me a message with your address and your size, and I got you.
will do, brother. Will do. But once
Got
again, man, look, man, I appreciate you taking the time out, man. Tell your wife I said thank you as well for allowing the space, and congratulations on the baby. And whatever I can do, bro. I don't have a whole lot of. I got a lot of pull. I don't even have a lot of resources. But if there's something that I can do that you may need, let me know, man.
I'm good. I'm actually good. But let me ask you this: what can I do for you?
Oh, bruh, listen, man. I think for me, even with the podcast, so one, I have to learn. I have to learn patience for one, because with me, I know that I have an expectation of things to be perfect, and I have an expectation of everything to go the way that I want it to go as soon as I expect for it to go that way. So for me, I'm learning patience. I'm learning to pace myself, but I'm always looking on ways to improve. Always,
Okay.
whether it's through communication, whether it's through my social media channels, whether it's even through like my YouTube channel. Right now, we might be at 12 or 13 subscribers. And so I'm always, some of those questions, I'm always looking at, well, what is it that I need to do to improve that will make people come and stay, get the information, and subscribe, and even with my Instagram and things of that nature. What do I need to do to engage an audience? You know, consistently create content, which is a monster.
Yeah.
So just, I guess for me in general is what needs to be done to improve what I'm doing now.
Okay.
And
The one thing I would say, I know we're kind of like wrapping up, but the one thing I would say to that question is you should definitely put out more pieces where more social media clips where people are getting value. Like instead of posting clips about my backstory, no, people don't really give a damn about my backstory. They want whatever they can take away from this particular interview that's going to add value to their life.
got it.
So, no matter what conversation you have with whoever, try to figure out what is something that person can give that will help your audience, and lean and focus in on that. Post and promote that like hard. If you have a page full of people giving nuggets and gems, that's going to grow your page no matter what.
Got it. Well, I appreciate it, man. I do.
No problem.
Now I guess I have to sit down and either do some editing or I need to find me an editor, one or the other.
Yeah. Editors ain't hard to find, so. But you got it, though.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, brother.
No problem, man.
Indeed, man. Indeed. Once again, you guys, listen, I want to say thank you. My brother Rashod Harris, he took some time out to have a conversation with us. Look, Entrepreneurship, the journey is not easy. The one thing that we don't have a lot of is time. Time is very valuable, very, very valuable, to the point that time is so valuable, you can't get it back. There's nothing that you can do to get it back. But he took time out this evening, man, to kind of share some stuff with you guys, with me as well, on how we can all improve on the things that we're looking for and we want to see happen in the future. So once again, thanks him. Thank you guys again. It's the Mind Business Podcast. We do this every Monday on our YouTube channel, so make sure you catch the replays, catch it live on Mondays. Powered by Hanging with the Harrisons. And once again, we will talk to you guys real soon.